Support for Consider This is provided by the University of Nebraska at Omaha College of Communication, Fine Arts, and Media.
Once again, from the studios of UNO Television on the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
You're looking at 13 individuals from 7 different states, all about to make the trip of a lifetime, courtesy of First National Bank of Omaha. Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, Global Village Trip. Joining us to talk more about it are Carrie Zuha, an employee at First National Bank of Omaha, and Carrie Eckelby, a customer. Welcome to the two of you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, I have to ask, what do you do at First National Bank of Omaha?
I'm the Director of Client Management, so I manage teams that manage relationships around the United States.
Okay, and how long have you been with them?
21 years.
Wow.
Yes.
And how did you stumble into all of that?
To banking?
Yeah.
Finishing up my degree and was needing to get a strong job somewhere, and found a job in the credit card division and started when I was 19 while I was going to school at the same time, and continued from there.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and what about you? Talk about your relationship with the bank, Carrie.
Well, I have been a customer of First National Bank since I was 14 years old. It was my very first checking account that I ever had established, as I had my first job then. So I have been a lifelong member, lifelong supporter of First National Bank. I love it that it's local and they're trustworthy, and it's just been, never had any problems. And so when I heard about the trip, I thought, I'm a loyal customer, why not?
Well, so tell us about that. How did you learn about this trip?
I actually saw an article in the paper, in the Omaha World Herald, a little tiny clip, and I thought it was international. It was, yet at the same time, something local that was kind of endorsing that, and I thought, what a perfect combination. And I applied, and I got it.
Wow. Carrie, set the stage for us in terms of what we're about to discuss here. What is this contest?
Yeah, absolutely. So the bank has definitely had a goal for several years now. In fact, we have a goal to build 5,000 homes by 2020. So it's been a long-going initiative in partnership with Habitat for Humanity. We started the global trips about 4 years ago. First one went to Haiti, and it was just employees that we sent. I had the privilege of going on the second global trip to Romania. And we then proceeded to have global trips every year. And so this year, the bank thought, why don't we try to include a broader group of individuals other than just the employees? And why don't we see if customers have the same interests that we do? And so the idea was, thought to let's include the customers. So I was chosen to be the lead for the group. So I got the privilege. I didn't have to write the essay and the questions like the other employees did, because you have to have been on a global trip to help lead a global trip. But I got to be part of the process, and it was amazing. So we asked employees to answer a few questions that would provide us insight into why they felt going, halfway across the world to volunteer and build a home would be meaningful to them. Mm-hmm. And we asked the same questions of our customers, and we basically put it on all our social media, in the paper, Facebook, Twitter, wherever we could reach our customers, and just kind of waited to see what would happen.
Interesting. There's so much that First National Bank of Omaha and other entities obviously can put their money toward.
Right.
Why this? This is a big chunk of change. This is a pretty large investment for the bank. So why this particular thing?
I think it's because First National always prides itself on our integrity, who we are as a company, and Habitat is about a hand up, not a handout. And that is really the firm belief, I think, of First National, and it's the core values that we talk about as a company. Mm-hmm. They encourage, not just with Habitat, they encourage us to volunteer with many different organizations, but Habitat just is one that we are strong advocates for. And the employees, we do a lot of local builds here. I've been on several that just fuels that passion. It's fueled my passion so much. I'm now on the Friends Board of Habitat, And in fact, tomorrow I go through training to be a family advocate. Well, I'll help a family through the process who's going to get a Habitat home.
Wow, Carrie, take us back to that moment, right, when you learned that you were selected. You were one of the 12 selected to go, right?
Oh, after the initial scream?
Yes. Whatever that moment meant for you, take us back to it.
I tried to stay composed, but I was beyond thrilled. I was humbled and honored, and all of those feelings that kind of percolated up, and I could not have been happier to have been chosen because like Carrie said, Habitat's just near and dear to my heart. There's so many worthwhile charities. I work for a worthwhile charity, but the difference that really sets Habitat for Humanity apart is the fact that the families put in sweat equity. They're not just handed keys, and it's about a community build. And I really like that sense of community. And so it just really spoke volumes to me to be able to do that. I have hands, I have feet. Why would I not give back and help somebody else who would never have the opportunity to have a home get a home?
Okay, so the initial shock wears off that you've actually been selected. Now it has to be the, oh my gosh, I'm going, to Bulgaria. How do you prepare for a trip like that, Carrie?
Well, there were a lot of emotions. So I did an emotional preparation, and I also did a physical preparation. So emotionally, because we were, quite frankly, none of us knew each other, and we were all strangers. But as Carrie and I were just chatting about, we were forged these really quick friendships and very strong, intense relationships. And so there was a lot of the emotional side of prepping and knowing that you're going somewhere where you've never been before with some deserving family that's going to end up with a home. The physical preparation, I certainly packed gloves and work clothes and things of that nature because this is really out of my element and it's something new and different. So there was those two sides to really mentally and physically prepare for.
Okay, so every trip has its first day, right? So you get over there, you land. We do have a photograph we're going to put up of the first day, but talk about that a little bit.
Well, our first day, again, it was strangers that became friends very quickly, and we really just hit it off, and I think we hit the ground running, and we just put our full 100% effort into it, and I would say at the end of that day, it was so successful. I think we got to know each other deeply and intensely, and we really understood that within that time frame why we were there.
Okay, and before we talk about the specifics in terms of why, we have a few more photographs, a handful of those. We would like you to help set the stage a little bit, and both of you ladies can comment on what it is that we're seeing here, just to give our viewers an idea of Bulgaria.
Okay. This was actually Plovdiv, I believe, where we went for a cultural day. So part of what you do on a global trip is you actually go out and really see other parts, if you can, of the country. And this was a wonderful day. We got to spend the day doing a city tour and getting to learn more about the history of Bulgaria.
Okay.
And this was the city tour on the Sunday, the first day that we were there, our first full day. And that is actually a beautiful historic building in Sofia, and had a wonderful guide that took us around and showed the landmarks and told us about the history and just kind of got us acquainted with that main downtown area, which is referred to as City Center.
Oh, this to me, and probably Carrie's as well, I would assume, but was probably one of the most special days. So on that Friday, in the town that we were building in, which was Koslow, just a little north of Sofia, we got the opportunity to go to a local school. And the school, this was their English class, and they sang us traditional Bulgarian songs, and we got to dance with them in the play yard, and we brought them new soccer balls. It was a fabulous, fabulous opportunity.
Okay.
Oh, this gentleman, this little boy. So the kids there were very into selfies. As our host coordinator from Bulgaria said, these kids don't see Americans. So to us, we were somewhat of celebrities. So they were all wanting our selfies. So this little man asked if he could take a picture with me, and he just planted his cheek to my cheek and threw his arm around me, and we took a selfie together. So it was a precious moment. He was a sweet little boy.
Wow. The kids were very loving, very loving.
Well, in this, I love getting part of the culture, obviously. And so this was a local shepherd who would bring his sheep by the build site. And he came one day and he makes these wooden tools. And we all purchased some from him, and he was a sweet old man.
What else needs to be said about this shot, right? This was another hard, laborious day, and we were all painting, and that's why all the hair is back and the bandanas are on, but obviously having a very good time painting the interior of the home.
Yeah, and I would say that no one could possibly have expected this group, who was coming together really for the first time, to go over to Bulgaria and just build a house, right? So you did have some preparation that occurred here in the States, and we have a video that we want to put up of some of that preparation. Talk about what it took over here to get you at least comfortable thinking about what you'd be doing over there, if you would, and we'll put that video up while you're talking about the prep.
Okay.
Yeah, and so what we typically do before you go over, obviously you meet with local Habitat folks who have been on global trips before. So Ken Marr, they're actually in the blue, was our leader from Habitat who went over with us as well. And so he's been on 6 global trips, so he was able to prepare the team. You know, the part about going on a global trip is they don't have power tools. So we went to a local site here and saw kind of how we build homes here in America. But, you know, when you go globally, honestly, until you get there, you don't know what you're going to be dealing with. You have no idea what tools they have to provide. You have no idea what part of the build you're going to be on. So it's not that easy to prepare until you get there. So you have to be someone that just goes with the flow.
Are you that person, Carrie? I mean, when you truly, as you're walking through the house, at any point while you were still here, were you thinking, what have I done? Honestly, because, I mean, tell us about your life outside of this experience. What do you do day to day, and how did this kind of fit or not fit into what you're used to?
Well, it's definitely not under my job description, as I work full-time for the Nebraska Humane Society. I'm the Director of Education and Community Outreach. And so I don't oftentimes have paintbrushes in my hands or trowels in my hands, but again, I'm willing to learn, and I think anybody can learn anything as long as they've got the heart and the aptitude for it. So yeah, I would wander through my house thinking, what part of the build will it be on? I'm grateful it wasn't really on the roof because I'm not that fond of heights, but I would have been willing to do it because I so believe in the mission.
So as you were walking through the house here, and you were receiving instruction and some training, was there ever a point truly where you thought, I don't know, maybe pick somebody else, or were you just so excited to go and have the experience?
I was so excited, Kathy. I think, and again, the reassurance that came along with Habitat, they said, you know, if you're not comfortable doing something, they're certainly not going to put some tool in your hand that you are going to endanger others or yourself with. So they were I cannot speak highly enough about Habitat's preparation, and just that they really comforted us and let us know that, you know, this is to be a purposeful trip, obviously, but it also needs to be comfortable. It needs to be fun, and they're not going to set anyone up for failure or for any task that they don't feel, you know, well suited for. So no, I felt okay. Their motto was that labor is cheap, but tools are expensive. So I had that in the back of my mind, that probably tools were not going to be the latest and greatest and most cutting edge, but that's okay. You know what? The history of man has been evolving, and we've, you know, our tools are, you know, obviously becoming much more refined, but I was okay with whatever I was going to be handed. So, well,
I'm almost thinking your lack of experience was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because for people who do a lot of painting or who do a lot of that, to be handed what we might think of as a substandard tool, right, would be, excuse me, wait a second, and I'm going to be doing this for how long with this?
Right.
So maybe you not having
a fresh
background was a blessing.
Palette. Yeah, I was just like, okay, you know, let me at it and try it. So right, I think sometimes that novelty oftentimes is, you know, ensures success, as opposed to someone who has a certain way and it's their way and they're not going to budge. So yeah, you're right, it was a mixed blessing.
Well, you must be a trooper. We're going to look at that novelty in action, Carrie. We have a video of you doing some work in Bulgaria. So talk to us about this.
Well, I was nicknamed the slapper on that because it was cold, wet, sticky. troweling that we did, and it was on cement floors, and we had to, that part was drilled for us. We did not drill that, but they laid all the piping and so forth for the heating elements, and then it needed to be filled in, and we spent a day doing that, and hopefully we did a good job. We're hoping that all goes well and the house holds up. But
So that was one experience for you. Where else did they have you, Carrie? What else did you wind up doing?
I wound up doing a lot of painting, a lot of sealing, priming and painting, and that's okay. That was interesting. With the exception of the ladder, I wasn't quite used to having 2 logs and rungs for a ladder. But again, talking about tools, you know what? You use what you were handed. So that took a little. There was a learning curve to climb up a log ladder, but I did that. I was happy to do that. And then one day I did switch and worked where Carrie had worked primarily on the infamous fence. So the wall. I like to, kind of spread my talents around. So I dabbled in a lot.
In all honesty, and joking aside, teamwork imperative here. I mean,
Absolutely.
you really need, again,
Yes.
emphasizing you folks are coming together, just getting to know each other, and you're not thrown, but set nicely in this
Exactly.
environment where you need to come through for folks. And so, Carrie, talk about, that whole thought process in terms of if you're the leader in this whole thing and you're working closely with the Habitat representative, at what point are you looking at someone like Carrie and maybe the individual she's standing next to and thinking, oh no, this is not really going the way we thought it would, and maybe we need to rethink the teams here? I mean, is that an ongoing process for you?
It's really not. And every experience I think is different. And I will tell you, I echo what Carrie said. I am still continue to be amazed at how well the 13 of us connected. And you think about it. I mean, I know my personality. I can be a strong personality. You can have more introverted personalities. And we had everyone on our trip. We had a wide range of personalities and cultures and backgrounds. One of our customers was from Ghana. One of our employees is from India. The other one, Pavlin's from Bulgaria. So we had a lot of different backgrounds, and I was still just amazed at how quickly we were able to just figure out who was strong at what. That's the key, right? Where are you strong at? That's where you work, and then allow everyone to do what their strengths are, and then it works out fine.
Well, to bring up that whole cultural differences,
Big
that's a
cultural
whole different
difference.
ballgame.
It was.
And so talk a little bit about that. And I'd ask that of both of you, because especially from the teamwork standpoint, Carrie, from where you're sitting, you're just getting to know them. You're not really proficient at working inside a house the way that you did or building a house the way that you did. So talk a little bit more in terms of the cultural differences and how that did or didn't play out well in your experience.
Well, I would say you would be hard-pressed to denote any cultural difference. I like to reference it as kind of a mini United Nations. I mean, really scattered from all around the world, and yet this cohesive bonding that was formed. And again, you don't need to have a wallet. You don't need a lot of money to do this. You really need to have the heart. And that was, my friends would say, how are you going to board a plane with these people that you don't know and fly all this way? And again, it's like I knew we would become a really a gelled relationship, because we were all of that same mindset, and we all knew that we were serving, becoming part of something that was much bigger than us individually. So I think any individual difference was just washed away. I mean, 11 days, and it was intense, side by side, eating and dining, and it could not have been, could have had it go on for a month. I mean, those differences did not resurrect themselves at all. If indeed, there really are any. I think we have more that unites us than divides us,
But I would say what was interesting and what I continue to reflect on is the perspective I gained. I had very deep conversations with some of the individuals of differing backgrounds. We all in life have prejudices. We all have beliefs. None of us have been to Bulgaria other than, Pavlin, who's an employee who's, from there, of course. But what's amazing is at the end of the day, it's about humanity. And it's about having, caring about people. And so what you realize is that no matter what you were brought up or beliefs or where you're from in the world, if you just have a strong belief in humanity, then you can overcome anything. And that's what I took away from it. And sorry if I get a little emotional because we lose that perspective sometimes in life.
Yeah. How many applicants did you actually have for this, Carrie?
We had, I believe, from the customers, I believe it was 179, and we had roughly 159 employees.
You got to give great kudos to the people who were on that selection committee then to have put together a team such as the two of you have described here is pretty phenomenal. So to be a part of that, a little stressful I would imagine, but also very rewarding when they sit and listen to the stories that you're telling now. I want to go into the family. So you're building this house for a family. Carrie, tell us about what you know.
Yeah, actually two families.
Okay.
So it's a home, it's a quadrant basically of 4 homes. 2 families are already in their homes. 2 families are still waiting. So we actually got the pleasure of helping 2 families. One family is a mom and dad with a son that was 12 and a daughter that was 8. In Bulgaria, you have to have 2 children to be able to apply for a home because they can only build so many homes per year. And the other family was the mom and dad with 2 little boys. One was 2 and one was 1. And just to give you perspective, that family were living in, was it 800 square feet? 800 square foot, 2-bedroom apartment. Grandma and grandpa were sleeping in the kitchen. The 4 were staying in 1 bedroom, and his brother and sister-in-law were staying in the other bedroom in 800 square foot. So that's what they were living in. To come then to this beautiful home that they're going to have is amazing.
At what point did you meet them?
First day.
First
well,
day.
we met some of them.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's a driving force, obviously.
Absolutely.
So we have another photo we'll put up of progress, but to learn about them and to know really, to be reminded of why you're doing it,
Yeah.
Right.
then you can take away the whole progress from all of that too. So I know we talked a little bit about this before the taping, but challenging moments. Were there any on this trip at all? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Well, I wouldn't say there were challenging moments among the team itself. I think the team just took off with flying colors. The challenge would be, again, just the learning curve that is inevitable with doing something different or something new in your scope of abilities. So yeah, I would not say that. The challenge for me, if I'm going to think about it from a personal perspective, would have been, well, obviously the language communication. I would have loved to have talked more to the family, but that wasn't always a possibility through other than thumbs up and a lot of smiles. But and the tools, we had really hard paintbrushes to paint with and things like that, but we got the job done.
Well, I got to tell you, I was looking at the information that First National, had sent over, and there was one video, and we're going to put that up now, where there's a wall, and maybe you referenced this earlier.
Oh yes.
But I'd like to show the viewers because this was not just, a walk in the park for you guys. This was a pretty big deal. So let's take a look at that video now. Yeah. What are we seeing here?
This took 5 days to complete this wall. This was a very long wall. Basically, we had to mix the concrete by hand, and then you have to slap it up on the wall and create, as much as you can, and then you have to level it, and there's an art to it, and then you the next day have to sand it all down. So it's quite the process. I look at a concrete wall now with much different eyes. In fact, we were laughing as we would walk around Sophia at night. I'm like, that wall, that needs patched. We need to go get some concrete. Yeah, you have a different appreciation of that work.
Well, we have another photograph, and it's the finished product. We have just the exterior here, it looks like. So, yes?
Yes, that's of the house, not of the actual wall, the fence we were doing. But this is what the outdoor of the home, yes, would look like. And the door was beautiful, by the way. You can't see it in this photo, but
Really
yeah,
gorgeous.
it is hard to kind of get the
door.
perspective in terms of really, how do you feel? I mean, I'm looking at that photo now, I'm not even, involved, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I mean, so Carrie, the customer here, how you look at that, you're a little bit away from this trip now. How's that making you feel?
homesick. Oddly so, very homesick. Yeah, I look at that. There is a sense of pride. I think there's a sense of accomplishment, and there is a sense of just deep, deep fulfillment that this family that we met and knew are going to work there. And I think probably the most humbling experience for me over there was the father. The family's supposed to put in sweat equity in order to have the home. He was unable to do so, or he would have lost his job in Bulgaria. So his father, the grandfather of the two little kids, came in and worked alongside of us. And that to me spoke volumes about how the great sense of family over there, and how they're just willing to do anything to help each other out. Because this is post-communist era. I mean, dilapidated housing and broken pipes, and kids don't have yards to play in. So that was great impetus for me to see how desperate these people are to have what they call a home.
Yeah, we just have a couple of minutes left. I want to put up one final photograph.
Okay.
This is the team at the end. And I do think we do have a minute to do this. If you want to just name the folks in the photo, go ahead and give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, so the top, what I call it, the left side there, that's Victor. And then there's Carrie next to him, then me, Carrie, right there. Then Ken Mars in the middle, then Shane Roberts, then Courtney Christensen, Chad Williams, and on the end on the top is Zuhair Khan. Down from him in the orange is Pavlin Netsov. And then we have Diane Mora, and then we have Patty Portune, and then we have Ashley Keller, and we have Ashley Tafoya.
Okay, so Carrie, what is your biggest 30 seconds, biggest takeaway from this experience?
Oh, wow, my biggest takeaway. I would say that I am so grateful to have been part of the team and part of the mission, because we didn't go over there to help, we went over there to serve. And again, as I have found throughout my life, is whenever you serve, you get so much more than you give.
That is very, very cool. I know we have a website that we want to go ahead and put up for our viewers in the event that they would want more information. So, folks, it's unforgettablefirst.com. Again, unforgettablefirst.com. Carrie and Carrie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
For sharing your stories, and wow, what it is an unforgettable.
It is unforgettable, and it's an honor.
And
so
best wishes
blessed.
to the bank, everybody at the bank, everybody
Thank
who
you.
goes to the bank moving forward. Just a wonderful thing they're doing for community
Absolutely.
service.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
You bet. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information can be found at unotv.unomaha.edu. If you'd like to share your comments about this show, call UNO TV at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours, or email us at considerthis@tvmail.unomaha.edu.